episode here in Britt Arnhilds' Verden, Britt Arnhilds' World, the 6th episode in 2022, and this week in English. As many of you know, I do episodes every week, 1 week in Norwegian, which is my mother tongue, and then the next week in English. And I try to do the episodes different and also with a lot of different footage, so it should be interesting even for non-Norwegian speakers to see the Norwegian episodes. And I also hope that the Norwegian viewers can see the English episodes and get some inspiration from them. Since last week, we have been in Oslo, the capital of Norway. I forgot to say I'm Britt Arnhild. I am retired. I live in Trondheim, a city in the middle of Norway, together with my husband. We have 4 children, all grown up and moved away from our house. And we have 3 grandchildren, all of them living in Trondheim, quite close to us actually. 6, 3 and 1.5 years old. So we are a big family and we are so lucky to have them close. My husband and I, we live in a big red house in a big garden, close to the edges of the countryside. Hills, forest, woods, a beautiful area, and we love to be out hiking. We are both retired now, and we hike as much as possible, which means several times a week. For the moment, we are deep into winter, and for several years we have had winters with little snow, but a lot of ice. But this year we have had so much snow, and it's still snowing. So our garden is completely covered in about 1 meter of snow, I think, and there is snow everywhere. My husband, he loves cross-country skiing. I do cross-country skiing, but not very often. I feel I'm too old and stiff for that now. But we try to find areas in the woods where we can hike with using our winter boots, which was something we did yesterday. I didn't take any footage then, but I took a lot of photos, which I posted on my Facebook page, which has the same name as me, Britt Arnhild Vigum Lindland. You can always find me if you search Britt Arnhild, because it's not at all a common name. I'm not the only one in Norway with this double name, but there might be 2 or 3 of us, I think. So I can always use my name and people would understand who it is. To go to Oslo, we usually fly. Both I and my husband, we used to go to Oslo often when we worked. But now, as retired, and also with the pandemic, the past 2 years, it's 2 years, more than 2 years since we have been to Oslo. So it was very nice going there again. If you fly, it takes about 1 hour in the air or 50 minutes up in the air. But this time we decided to go by train. And it's a beautiful train ride up over the Dovre mountain. You might have heard Edvard Grieg's In the Hall of the Mountain King. The Norwegian name of that music is Dovregubbens Hall, the Dovre Mountain Old Man's Hall, the Hall of the Mountain King. And the weather was beautiful, snowy, winter wonderland. So I took some footage and you have already seen it. And also on the train, both ways, I knitted, I crocheted, I read, we had coffee. It takes 6.5 hours from Trondheim down to Oslo. So we took the train down on Friday and back home on Monday. On Sunday afternoon, we went to a musical, Mamma Mia, which was great. And then it was on Sunday also. We went to the Edvard Munch Museum, Munch Museum, which has recently moved from a small museum, not directly in the city center, but out in one of the old, on the outskirts kind of the city. But now they have built a very monumental building exactly in the middle of the center. You have the Opera House, which was built some years ago. They have recently built a new library, Deichmanske, the Deichman's Library, which is the main library in Oslo. And recently they have built this Munch Museum, which you saw in the footage. We had tickets there on Sunday morning together with our daughter-in-law. She was also in Oslo together with us, and so were our two daughters. Our daughters decided to do something else on Sunday, but our daughter-in-law, she came with us to the museum and the exhibitions. 12 floors, and most of them filled with Edvard Munch's paintings and belongings, and it was absolutely amazing. And we managed to see the Scream, which you also saw in the footage. The museum actually has, the Munch Museum has 3 different paintings of Scream. And because they don't want to give them light during all the opening hours of the museum, they have built a special room with dark walls for these paintings. One wall you can see prints of the paintings, photos of the paintings, and explanation. And then there are 3 walls with 1 Scream painting on each of them, but they are hidden behind a screen in a kind of cupboard. And they show only 1 of the paintings at a time. And they never tell the public when they will close the screen and open the next one, because they don't want a rush of people to come there to these special hours. So they have a kind of rotating system, which is secret. But we were lucky. When we were there, we could look for a long time on the most well-known, famous Scream. And after a while, the screens closed. And as soon as they were completely closed, a new screen was opening up to show us one of the other Scream's paintings, which you saw on in the start here, with my mother playing piano as usual. We also saw the palette Edvard Munch used when he painted. I took some footage of it, and a palette like that is, I get so much inspiration from it, and it's kind of very emotional to me, because you know that the painter have been for hours and hours and hours, well, for years, holding this palette and mixing his colors when he makes all these amazing paintings. So I took some photos, and as you all also have seen, I took some footage, and as you also have seen, I took a photo which I used as the introduction photo for this video. And I'm dreaming of using the colors in the palette. Do you say palette? It's a Norwegian word, but it sounds very English. But I want to use those colors, making maybe a noose call like this. Don't say noose call. Well, a scarf like this, a shawl like this. You see, here is my palette for this shawl. Some of the colors I have already used up. But to pick out leftover yarn from Edvard Munch's colors and make a shawl, that would really be something, wouldn't it? I'm really dreaming of doing that, but I have to finish this one first. You saw me crochet on the train. I will not show you that, but you also saw me knitting. And I have finished the sweater I was working on. I think I showed you the start of it in my previous English episode, and more of it in the Norwegian episode last week. But here it is, finished. It's size 2 years old, and it will be sent up to the Lofoten Islands to the little newborn baby of my niece. The Lofoten Islands will be perfect for this fisherman's sweater. The name is Icelander, or Islander, I guess you would say in English. It was a very traditional, very common sweater made by knitting machines in the 70s, I think. Maybe they started before that. And it has been used, the pattern has been used all over the Scandinavian countries. And I think it got its name from a Danish company, which machine knitted these sweaters in the 60s and 70s. And I think the company had a name with the word Islander in it, Danish Islander Company or something. I should have found out, but I'm not quite sure, but something like that. And because of that, this traditional sweater got the name Islander. The Norwegian name Islander, we say Islander, because you write it with I-S-L-E-N-D-E-R. And to pronounce it in Norwegian, we say Islander, which is actually the same word we have for a person living in Iceland. The Norwegian name of the country Iceland is Island. Is is the Norwegian name of ice. So an islander and a person living on Iceland is has the same word in Norway. Because of that, it has often been connected with Iceland. But as I have found out, it has mostly been produced in Denmark. But it has the last maybe 2 years or something, 1 year, 2 years, got a really renaissance. So it's a very popular sweater for the moment. I have knitted it with the stitches 3 millimeters in Rauma Finull. But a lot of people use a much thicker yarn, but I like this thin yarn. So it will be sent up to, well, the grandfather of this little baby up in the Lofoten Islands is coming to Trondheim next week. So I will wrap this and send it with him. I also hope to make Islendere for my own grandchildren, the 3 of them. So as soon as this one was finished, I found yarn for the first one for my own grandchildren. This will be for Vida, the little girl who was born in August 1.5 years ago. So I will start as soon as I have finished this video with everything, with the filming and all this work, editing and so on. I think I will start on this Islander for little Vida. Actually, for the moment, for the whole of this year, which is 1.5 months now, I have been starting a new project every single day. This means that I get a lot of knitting done and crochet, but I don't get many projects finished. So I think I have decided to do something with that now. So the Islander was a finished project for today, and for the coming days I will force myself to finish at least one project every day. So maybe next week in the Norwegian episode, and then in 2 weeks in the English episode, I will have a lot of new finished stuff to show you. here is one of the things I have been working on. It's not finished yet. I have told you about it. You have seen footage. And you can see it has grown. But it still needs maybe a couple of meters of this long, what do you call it? This long ribbon, or yeah, to make it as big as I want it. If you on Instagram check the hashtag newskall, you will see a lot of those and what it's all about. I have explained it in 2 episodes now, so I will not say more about it today. But I'm also knitting on other scarves. I love to knit scarves. I didn't for a long time. Well, I did make myself a few scarves to use, to wear. But then I thought, well, I have enough. But then I heard about, maybe it was 3 years ago, I heard about... or I saw people knitting a scarf with a pattern from Denmark, and it's called horizon shawl, the horizont. I didn't have the pattern, but I tried to figure out how to make it, and I did. So what you do, you start in one end, like here in the tip, maybe cast on 3 stitches or something, and then on one side you increase every row you knit, and on the other side you decrease every second row, which means that every time you have knitted 2 rows you have 1 more stitch on your needles. So then the scarf is growing, so it's a very long scarf. In the end you have all these stitches, which you can just bind off. And then I decided to kind of decorate this first horizon shawl I knitted. So I crocheted small flowers and sew them on, and I love that. I love the way of making something more creative with my shawl. So I continued to knit more shawls, and for the moment I'm looking here, I have knitted 2 more, I think, and I have 2 more in the making and 1 in the planning. The first one, which I have in the making, you have already seen. It's this beautiful color inspired by this plate, which we bought in Sarajevo many years ago, and also inspired by a gift I got for Christmas. Oh, it has curled up now. It's a necklace, a beautiful angel, and a bracelet in the same colors. It's made by my neighbor. And I love to collect beads, and this shawl will be decorated with some of these beads from Italy, from Venice and Murano. From Murano, actually, the glass blower island of Venice. Then when I was looking through some of my beads and buttons, I found this beautiful pink and orange ones. They are vintage. They are bought at a market in Venice. I hope you can see it. Look at this. Oh, it's hard to hold. There. It's not easy to see it. There. And also I have this reddish. They are very difficult to see for you. And this beautiful old pink color. And I thought, oh, I want to do something with them. Do I have some yarn I can use? And of course I had. So in this project bag, which is made from an old embroidery by a friend of mine, Janne, in the knitting podcast Countryside Knitting, Janne and Merete, they are Norwegian, so they do Norwegian podcasts, but they also do English ones. Countryside knitting. It's worth looking at, really. So Janne has made this one. And in here I have the yarn for another horizon shawl. I have only started. It's very thin, this red, and then also this mohair. And when I knit it together, I get this color. And I think it will be perfect with the orange and purple, reddish purple, and pink old beads on it. So that's also another project I plan to work on today. And then in Oslo, I visited 2 yarn shops, yarn stores. One of them is called verden, which is a word I should have known in English, but I can't remember it now. Well, it's called verden, and it's a kind of playing with different words to put them together. At verden, I met a friend. We sat there knitting, and I bought so much lovely, amazing yarn. And I have found what I planned to buy, and I was on my way to pay. And then the owner, the one who is dyeing the yarn, she came and she said, "Look at this one. It's completely new. I dyed it yesterday, and it has only today dried up. It hasn't this belt around them yet," she said. "Oh, it's beautiful," I said. "And it doesn't have a name," she said. She continued. And I said, "Well, I have a name for it. It's 1001 Night." And I bought one of the skeins. And she put on this belt, and she gave it the name 1001 Night. The yarn is very thin, very, very thin. But what I plan to do is to try to use only one thread and knit one of these shawls. It's so beautiful. I don't think I will decorate it with the beads because they will be too heavy. Talking about colors and inspiration, like Edvard Munch's palette, I'm opening it without showing you. I have this beautiful box of the Sunflowers by Van Gogh, and in it I have a necklace, a huge necklace. Oh, there are 2 necklaces actually, 2 big ones, which are made by paper and with putting lac. What do you say? They are putting some not paint, but this with no color to take care of the paper, and some glass beads in between the paper beads. I have bought them in Africa, and they have the most beautiful colors. I don't wear them often. Actually, they could be worn, at least one of them, together with this dress. But I'm also planning to look more intensely at the colors and use them in some design. I haven't quite decided what to make yet, but to use beads, a palette, necklaces, whatever, as inspiration in my knitting is something I really love. And then I use yarn from my stash, mostly leftover yarn, but I also sometimes buy new yarn to put into my stash, not for a special project, but because I love the color, so that I can use it for something which I get inspired by, like this one. It's beautiful, isn't it? And it's kind of made out of nothing. I mean, you have colored paper and you make a bead out of it, and you get something as beautiful as this. It's hard to focus. maybe. Yeah. So, well, since I'm starting or working on at least one, no, not at least, but one different project every day, I could have continued for hours showing you, but I will wait. I will take a little every time. And I show them all in my Instagram account, Britt Arnhilds strikkedagbok. I will put a link down under here. Strikkedagbok means knitting journal, knitting diary. In my Norwegian episodes, I read one chapter in each episode from the book Heidi by Johanna Spyri, a German or Swiss, I'm not sure, writer. She wrote about Heidi in the 1880s, I think. And I think the book is popular in America also, and it has been filmed a lot of times and so on. I have an old copy which used to belong to my mother-in-law and her sister. And for a long time now, I think we have read 16 or 17 chapters. I have read in the Norwegian episodes. I haven't quite found anything to read here in the English episodes. Maybe you readers have a suggestion. Is there a charming old book which you would like me to read from? Maybe I already have the book, or maybe you can help me to find it. We'll see. But I do have a book I want to suggest for you today. I want to talk about. I told you I visited this new library in Oslo, Deichmanske. I will also put a link to the library down under here. It has been elected to be the most popular public library in the world, actually. And it's amazing. And it's huge, and it's open from early morning till late night, 7 days a week. I think I was in there 3 times during our 3 days in Oslo. And I'm already looking forward to go back there. I love books. I love to buy books. I love to own books. But I also love libraries. And I have so many childhood memories from school library, from the public library here in Trondheim. We have a brand of the Trondheim Public Library actually quite close to us. So we can go there every day if you want to just walk there. But then I also visited a very special bookshop in Oslo, and I hadn't planned to buy anything. Well, my husband and we had planned to buy one book for little Vida. We had bought gifts for the 2 boys, the grandchildren. So we wanted to buy a book for Vida because she loves books, just like her grandmother. And she found that, and I said to my husband, well, can't you go out to the counter to pay? I will just have a look around. And then I found this book. The Library Book by Susan Orlean. She's American. She lives in LA, Los Angeles. And she writes about the fire, the huge, devastating fire at the, what is it called? The main library in LA. On the morning of the 29th April 1986, someone set fire to the Los Angeles Public Library, ultimately destroying more than 4,000 books. So in the book, I had never heard about this fire, and it was a huge one. But in this book, Susan Orlean writes about the fire. She writes very good about the fire, a long section. And then she continues to write about who they think made it, his history, and she continues further on to talk about libraries as a general. And she also has a long section where she talks about her childhood memories in a library close to where she grew up. I love the book. I started to read it on the train on Monday. So, of course, I couldn't knit all the time or crochet all the time. I also had to read from this book. and I really recommend it. If you are a book lover, this is a book you will love. Okay, I think I'm looking around here. I think this is all for today. I will edit this video. I will publish it. I will be looking forward to read your comments. I really love comments. And I look forward to do some knitting. My husband and I, we had a long hike yesterday. Today we don't plan to go hiking, so I will be knitting and crocheting. Thank you for coming by. Thank you for viewing. Thank you for commenting, for pressing the like button, and for subscribing. If you are not a subscriber, please be one, because it will always help me to get more viewers. Every single subscriber, viewer, to press the like heart or to give a comment will help me a lot. So I'm very thankful for that. Okay, see you again next week. Till then, bye, and enjoy some footage again from our cabin and the birds which we are feeding there. I will end with them here. Bye.